Welcome to Last Dawn Stories channel. Howard is the merman I raised single-handedly. The day I demanded he differentiate into a man, he scoffed at me and said, "Don't think that just because you raised me, I belong to you. As for bonding, don't even dream about it." With a flick of his dazzlingly beautiful tail, he turned and swam off with another mermaid. Later, I brought home a frail phoenix. I cared for it diligently and kept it company to the best of my ability. When I was on the verge of bankruptcy for the phoenix, I tactfully mentioned that I could no longer afford to keep Howard and hoped he would find a way to manage on his own. That night, the merman, who had never shed a tear before, scattered pearls all over the house. Howard restrained the phoenix by its neck, his eyes filled with ruthlessness, yet he couldn't stop the tears as he said to me, "If I kill him, you won't be unable to afford to keep me, and you won't abandon me anymore, right?" I never could have imagined, as an adult, Howard was proud-tempered and prone to unpredictable mood swings. When I expressed my hope for him to differentiate into a man, his pale blue eyes swept over me from head to toe, as if in disgust, and he scoffed lightly, saying, "Don't think that just because you raised me, I belong to you. As for bonding, don't even dream of it." The contempt and malicious assumptions in his words made my heart tremble, but before I could explain, his strikingly beautiful fishtail flicked as he plunged into the water and swam to the mermaid's side. Before leaving, the mermaid smiled at me and said, "Thank you, sister, for willingly returning the leader of our kind, but as for differentiation, perhaps merfolk are naturally drawn to and submissive towards powerful members of their own kind." She gazed at Howard's silent yet handsome face, unable to suppress her admiration and awe, and said seductively, "Perhaps you don't know. We merfolk can only choose to differentiate after our sexual consciousness awakens, and most only submit to beautiful partners. It's truly asking too much of Howard to go against his natural instincts like this." Mermaids have been renowned for their beauty and enchanting songs since ancient times. Even undifferentiated mermaids possess enough charm to topple cities and captivate at first glance. It's only natural for a female mermaid to look down on my appearance, yet Howard, upon hearing this, remained utterly silent. I frowned and called out, "Howard, are you truly determined to leave, with her, whom you've only met a few times? How many times have I told you, she's lying to you, you don't have any clan at all." Howard is a merman I raised myself. For hundreds of years, I poured all my heart and soul into him. Could it be that such trust is no match for a beautiful mermaid who appeared out of nowhere? Claiming Howard was their lost leader, the sea wind howled mercilessly. Howard lifted his eyelids and declared resolutely, "Yes, I want to leave with her, Freya. I don't want you controlling me anymore. Anyway, by your side, coming and going, it's never short of just me." Seeing this, the mermaid grew even more pleased, her fish tail coiling around Howard, both docile and ingratiating. The next second, the two vanished from my sight into the azure sea. A dense, stinging pain welled up in my heart. I suddenly remembered the past. Howard was a handsome merman with azure eyes and a light silver fishtail. When he was still young, his original form was so small that I could hold him in my hands and bring him home by adding a little water to my palm. To take good care of him, I studied various ancient books and delved into the diet and habits of merfolk. When he refused to eat what humans normally consume during his illness, I dove 30,000 feet underwater to hunt the demonic beasts he loved most. But the phoenix tree cannot endure the cold, and the ferocious creatures lurking in the depths are many. I overestimated my cultivation, returning pale as death before collapsing in a heap. At that moment, the young Howard's tail stiffened, his beautiful green eyes widening in shock. Tears welled up in an instant, watching helplessly as I fell. Then fury and grief ignited a savage rage. In the depths of the ocean I ventured, my still frail fish tail wreaking havoc in a frenzied battle. When I returned, my silver scales were drenched in blood, like the ancient war god's silver armor, stained crimson with blood. "Howard," I took 2 steps forward, utterly distraught, letting the seawater soak my pant legs, remembering the centuries Howard and I had spent together, and now watching him leave me without hesitation. Tears fell instantly. Just like every time I parted ways with the ancient divine bird I had cared for over the years, feelings of reluctance, fear, and loneliness always surged through my chest. Not to mention, for me, Howard was ultimately different from everyone else. Tears dripped into the sea, only to vanish without a trace. However, a light and ethereal voice suddenly echoed within my sea of consciousness, "Freya, the phoenix was born early and is waiting for you in your birthplace to pick it up." I was stunned, just about to speak. The deity from the heavenly realm seemed to guess what I was going to say and stated, "The phoenix is an ancient divine bird, while merfolk are at most sea demons, you should understand which is more important. Besides, Howard chose to leave you on his own accord, you owe him nothing. Let's go, I'll take you there." In a flash of light, the entire world leaped and flipped before my eyes. In an instant, I found myself back in my long-lost homeland, the boundless heaven. The boundless sky was as clear as a mirror, with a massive phoenix tree firmly rooted at its center. As if forming a sanctuary, beneath my majestic and towering true form, a newly hatched, wet and featherless little phoenix faced me and opened its eyes. Its eyes were pitch black, and though it flapped its wings, it couldn't fly. It could only anxiously step out of its shell and stumble toward me. Chirp, chirp, the weak yet piercing cry almost struck my tender heart in an instant. It was as if the light of hundreds of years ago had reappeared. Back then, I had cupped Howard, curled up like a tiny fish, in my hands in the sea. Now, under the sycamore tree, I once again cradled the small and frail phoenix. I placed it in my arms. I had thought Howard would never return, just as resolute as he was 3 months ago when he left me without a backward glance. But when I taught the phoenix to fly, speak, and transform, and opened the door with a nest made of phoenix tree branches and sweet spring water from the celestial realm, a thick, fishy sea breeze instantly rushed toward me. "Sister, why return to the mortal world? Let's stay." The phoenix, which had been preening its feathers on my shoulder, suddenly let out a sharp cry and leaped down, transforming into human form. It stood protectively in front of me. "There's a demon, sister. You go first." The teenage boy, transformed, had a clear voice and a determined expression. Inside the room, Howard opened his cold eyes, and a huge silver tail instantly coiled around him, lifting him high. Devon's face turned red, filled with shock and astonishment. He is a phoenix, born never having encountered an enemy who could effortlessly capture him. Watching the fishtail slowly tighten, I urgently shouted, "Howard, let him go now, don't you dare hurt him, do you hear me?" "On what grounds?" Howard leaned in, his pale blue eyes reflecting my image. "I've been waiting for you at home for so long. Where on earth have you been?" I frowned. "I have my own matters to attend to, and besides, didn't you leave with that mermaid?" "I never said I wasn't coming back. The moment I'm gone, you find someone new." Howard suddenly got angry for some reason. His handsome face instantly grew scales, exuding an aura of imminent eruption. Before me, there was ancient Snake and Bruce. "After I left, you brought back a phoenix, Freya. It was you who wanted me to differentiate into a man, and it's also you who can go find someone else anytime. How could you do this?" I was firmly restrained by Howard's transformed webbed hands, a sharp pain shooting through my shoulders, yet the man's eyes were filled with disbelief and grievance. Unable to bring myself to hurt him, I softened my tone. "Howard, could you please put Devon down first? He's still young. He can't handle you treating him like this." Devon's eyes slowly rolled back as he suffocated, tears streaming down his delicate face. I raised my hand to caress Howard's cheek, coaxing him, "Put him down, be a good boy." It had been a long time since I had called him that. Howard froze for a moment, his pale silver tail trembling slightly, then he let go. Devon fell from the sky to the ground, unable to stop panting. The phoenix, frightened, went to sleep early that night. Howard leaned on the sofa, staring at me coldly. I sighed and explained to him, "You already know, don't you? I am a phoenix tree from the boundless heaven, just a karmic connection from a past life. Both you and the phoenix are part of my cultivation, to care for and accompany the reborn ancient divine birds until they safely grow up and regain their inherited memories before leaving." Howard frowned in disbelief. "So the previous ancient Snake and Bruce were all, obviously, what kind of person do you take me for?" I kicked his silver tail fin irritably and snapped, "Do you think I've been collecting men for my own use?" Howard's expression froze. "Then why did you want me to become a man? When I was little, you always loved touching my tail. If I didn't let you, you'd withhold my food. Is this what you call taking care of me? Believe it or not, that's how it was." I entered the bedroom and, before closing the door, suddenly remembered something. With a grave expression, I said, "Howard, this is the first and last time. I'm warning you, don't you dare lay a finger on Devon again. Unlike other divine beasts, the mermaid is a demonic creature. Casually harming ancient divine birds will invoke heavenly retribution through thunder tribulation, leaving one with no place to be buried." Howard wasn't ignorant of the consequences. It's just that when his temper flares up, he disregards life and death, becoming terrifyingly arrogant. Fortunately, after taking care of him for so many years, I can at least still keep him in check. But back then, that mermaid, could it be that Howard truly loved her? should I really let him go? This was Phoenix's first time coming to the human world. He was curious about everything, holding my hand and asking questions as we walked down the street. One moment he was asking me why freezers could get cold, the next, he was clamoring for a giant TV screen so he could go home and study humans. I strolled along with him, somewhat absent-mindedly. Yet somehow I kept thinking of Howard when he was a child. In those days, the mortal world was still an era of constant smoke of war and distant travels by horse and carriage. Howard, with his disheveled long hair, lay cradled in my arms. He disliked walking on the ground, so he clung tightly to my neck, speaking little, merely observing the world with calm indifference. Occasionally, when he truly couldn't resist, he would gently tug at my collar and say, "Sister, I want to eat candied hawthorns." I really like Howard. From the previous life, he has always been different from others in my heart, but perhaps this kind of affection can only remain in the past life, when Howard was still the renowned war god of the 6 realms. His breath was fierce, his body covered in blood, yet he wearily and gently pressed his forehead against my tree trunk, murmuring softly, "Freya, I might not have time to wait for you to grow up and see your human form." After that night, Howard and Devon reached a brief truce. Phoenixes are noble and proud, harder to raise than flying snakes, Bruce, or mermaids. I have to frequently travel between the heavenly realm, my hometown, and the mortal world. The leaves of the phoenix tree have been stripped bare, and the sweet springs of the heavenly realm often run dry, though Devon never says it aloud. He even rests his head against my chest to comfort me. "Sister, I'll try my best to adapt, don't always worry about me." But as I stroked his feathers and channeled the phoenix essence and spiritual energy from within me to him, the exhaustion from his sleeplessness and the sickness accumulated from not eating or drinking were truly alarming. The only solution now was to take Devon back to his homeland. With my strength alone, I still couldn't properly care for a divine phoenix fledgling. I went to fetch the last pot of sweet spring water and saw Howard return from the East Sea once again. Covered in the scent of blood, he came closer, and I could smell the scent of that female mermaid on him. I thought for a moment and said, "I'm going to sell the house and go to Devon's hometown. I might not be back for several years. You don't need to worry about what I said that day, since it's been so long and she hasn't harmed you. I'll let you go find her." Howard paused in the act of licking the blood from the fish tail. He raised his eyes and asked calmly, "What do you mean? You raised him until you went bankrupt, and now you're going to throw me to someone else?" Devon was still lying weakly in the bedroom, barely able to make a sound. I didn't have time to think too much, so I simply told him to figure out how to live in the human world on his own, and then I left. When I returned, it was already night. Opening the room, the floor was covered in pearls emitting a dazzling glow. I stared in disbelief and walked in, stepping on the pearls. In the bedroom, Howard's pale silver fishtail loomed overwhelmingly, raised high. With one hand, he tightly gripped the phoenix's neck, its original form already drenched in blood under his assault. I stood frozen, staring at Howard's strikingly handsome face, one that had never let tears fall to form pearls. Soon, he noticed me and turned his gaze toward me, filled with murderous intent. His tone was fierce, his azure eyes widened, yet tears kept falling uncontrollably as he asked, "If I kill him, you won't be unable to afford to keep me anymore, and you won't abandon me, right, Howard? Didn't I warn you not to harm the phoenix? Why didn't you listen to me?" Several lashes struck the shimmering silver fish tail, blood splattered abruptly, a shocking sight. I gasped in anger, my fingertips clutching the whip trembling and curling uncontrollably. Howard, who had seemed possessed by a demon just a second ago, now lay on his side, hands clenched tightly, his seaweed-like fluffy hair covering his pale profile. Only his shoulders and bleeding fishtail, trembling faintly, betrayed the pain he was desperately enduring. Howard endured my lashing from start to finish, gritting his teeth through the pain. "Freya," after a long pause, my whip didn't strike again, and Howard called out to me with an unsteady voice, but he was quickly interrupted by Phoenix. "Sister, you're bleeding." Howard suddenly looked up, staring at me in shock. I frowned, my steps unsteady as I swayed slightly, bracing myself. I licked the blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. In the sea of consciousness, the divine sovereign of the heavenly realm continued to coldly reprimand me. "The day Howard returned, I told you to drive him away, yet you were too soft-hearted to keep him by your side. His demonic nature is so uncontrollable, and if it weren't for your repeated protection of him, Freya, I hope you remember our blood pact clearly. If the phoenix is harmed again, it won't just be your branches that are severed." Within the boundless heavens, the lightning that descended upon my true form dissipated. Staggering, I fell to the ground and took a deep breath. Understood, Divine Venerable. Suddenly, a chill touched my hand. I looked up, and Howard's blood-stained tail fanned away the phoenix that wanted to approach, then gently touched my hand with his tail. Since childhood, whenever he angered me and was afraid to come near, he would cautiously test the waters like this. Freya, what's wrong with you? Where are you hurt? The man furrowed his brows, his blood-stained tail tapping restlessly on the ground, his voice barely above a whisper. Was it because I upset you? I'm sorry, Freya. I didn't realize you cared so much about this bird. Please don't be angry with me. I really won't do it again next time. Howard bared his lean upper body, inching closer. At the moment he was about to tenderly and pityingly lick away the traces of blood at the corner of my mouth, I turned my head away. The man froze in stunned silence before me. I stood up and picked up Phoenix, who was curled up in the corner. Turning around, I said without looking back, "There won't be a next time, Howard. Since you hate Phoenix so much, I'll just take him with me." The Phoenix was in mortal danger, so I had to rush to Sunset Township overnight, because my preparations were incomplete. I had to rely solely on my true gas to dispel the demonic miasma and illusory realms I encountered along the way. After finally arriving at the shores of Sunset Township by wind, I handed the Phoenix over to the divine beast that came to meet us, and then fainted on the coast. I don't know how long I was unconscious, but when I opened my eyes again, my previously blood-soaked skin was completely restored, and a cold, beautiful fish tail held me tightly in its embrace. As my lips parted, a cool stream of water was fed to me. Howard cradled the back of my neck with one hand, those pale blue eyes, dark and unfathomable, stared straight at me. "You were so badly injured that day, with blood clots even in your hair." The man let out an almost inaudible sob and held me tightly again. "Freya, why don't you want me anymore? Ever since the Phoenix appeared, you've spent every day stroking its feathers, ignoring my tail completely. Does it no longer please you? Perhaps among all these divine birds, only the demonic creatures cannot sense it. My touch does not signify liking or disliking. Since 1,000 years ago, the essence of 4 war gods has flowed through every part of my body. It is equivalent to a vessel, storing them securely, to prevent the attributes of the war gods from clashing and burning me to death when returning their essence in this lifetime. Thus, each time I tend to the divine beasts follows a fixed cycle, only moving to the next when the cycle ends, repeating endlessly. But this time was different. The Phoenix was born prematurely. The divine sovereign prefers celestial beings, so naturally, they wished for me to tend to the Phoenix as soon as possible, but I never expected it to happen so coincidentally. A beautiful mermaid happened to appear by Howard's side, repeatedly urging him to return to the East Sea. I tried to persuade him to stay many times, but he wouldn't listen, and now, he turns around and asks me why I don't want him anymore. I leaned wearily against Howard's chest and asked him, "Howard, back then I chased after you, not wanting you to leave, but you insisted on returning to the East Sea with the mermaid. If you liked her that much, how could I possibly stop you?" Howard's body stiffened. He almost gritted his teeth to force out a few words. "Who likes that stupid thing? Can't you tell? Can't you see that Men rarely have moments where they seem so hesitant to speak." I was curious to see what reason he could possibly come up with. A sharp cry suddenly rang out from the shore. The mermaid, unseen for so long, emerged slowly from the sea with a grim expression, crouching by the water's edge. Her webbed hands clawed into the sand, pulling forth a ghastly grin. "Run and hide, Howard, keep hiding. Did you think I wouldn't find you just because you stayed out of the East Sea? If you're so afraid of death, how dare you swim thousands of miles now to reach the endless village?" The mermaid's killing intent was fully revealed. And in the waves behind her, the silhouettes of dozens of mermaid tails could faintly be seen rising and falling. The change occurred in the blink of an eye. My energy was exhausted and had yet to recover. Howard tirelessly channeled his magic into me for several more days before I finally woke up safely, just when he was at his weakest, outnumbered, helpless. Howard could only roll me up and dive headfirst into the pitch-black depths of the sea. This sea connects with the East Sea, and the mermaid relentlessly pursues from behind. As I cast spells backward to repel, I glanced at Howard. "What's wrong with you guys? Doesn't she like you? Why would she kill you? Isn't it normal to want to kill me?" Howard's voice was low as he glanced at me. "I'm so unpopular. No one would like me except you." In the dark depths of the sea, his pale blue eyes resembled firefly lanterns in a jungle. The murderous intent concealed deadly danger, yet was unbelievably beautiful. Howard swiftly dodged the pursuit and continued. "She sought me out to make me submit beneath her tail fin, to help her resist other mermaid clans and bolster her reputation and forces. A brainless fool who thought knowing my weakness would allow her to manipulate me at will. I merely employed a minor stratagem and destroyed her clan, that's all. What weakness? What does it mean to destroy her clan? What exactly happened to Howard in the East Sea during those months? I frowned at him. There was no time to ask for details when a sharp sound pierced the air. Howard's back was suddenly torn open by several sharp claws, the scent of blood and precious mermaid flesh instantly attracting the gaze of countless hidden beasts in the sea. A frenzied wolf lunged at us. The female mermaid had actually driven us all the way to the lair of the great sea monsters of the East Sea. As we were scattered and sent plummeting by the waves, she stood at the height, grinning ferociously as she said, "A disabled mermaid whose sexual consciousness can never awaken, and an utterly insignificant goblin sycamore. Howard, don't you love her? Then watching her get torn apart by demonic beasts, will it pain you so much that you fill the depths of the East Sea with pearls?" With all my might, I forced my eyes open as I fell. Above, several mermaids were diving down to surround Howard. Their shrill screams threatened to tear him apart and devour him alive. Howard, my desperate cry was drowned out by the roaring waves. Under immense panic, I gritted my teeth and severed 2 meridians in my right hand that ran through my divine soul. An excruciating, soul-corroding pain instantly spread throughout my body and spirit. The agony forced me to curl up uncontrollably. The next moment, I found myself pressed against a cold yet broad chest, Howard's silver-fish tail. With flesh and blood flying, gently wrapped around my legs. "Why do you look like you're ready to die?" He was covered in wounds, yet he still had the strength to entangle himself with me to the death. Howard's cheeks were bloody, his eyes gentle, and he gently rested my head against the crook of his neck, saying, "Freya, did I never tell you, even if I were to die, I wouldn't let a single harm come to you?" As he spoke, he extended the sharp claws on his webbed hand, preparing to slit open his own belly. "Don't move." I quickly grabbed his hand, my face pale. I shook my head at him. "Don't hurt yourself casually, we're still far from the point of a do-or-die situation, or crushing the demonic core." In the dark depths of the sea, a few strands of divine aura from ancient snake and bruise suddenly descended. A blinding white light instantly illuminated Howard's eyes, filled with deep affection and love. From afar came the shrill, agonized cry of a mermaid. While Howard and I were simultaneously engulfed in the shimmering white light, just before completely entering the sanctuary illusion, I weakly smiled at the battered and bruised man. "Howard, actually, I should be the one to say that. I will never let you die in front of me again." The illusion shields us by replaying the past. Before our eyes, the storm and rain recede 1,000 years in an instant, when human civilization originated. The merman population at the bottom of the East Sea was unimaginably vast. They were bloodthirsty, lustful, and loved to kill. Howard was a young fish who, during the chaos when his mother was disemboweled by other merfolk, fell into a crevice in the dark rocks. From birth, he experienced the destruction of his clan. Every day, he would huddle in the crevices of dark rocks, surviving on small crabs found in the sea sand. Later, he gradually grew fins that could sense danger, only then daring to swim out of the crevices to search for food to fill his belly. There shouldn't be any food remnants near the lair of a great beast, yet Howard always managed to find scraps of flesh in the crevices of dark rocks not far away. Those fragments of meat enabled him to evolve a more powerful silver tail, learning to hunt, speak, and practice magic, until he encountered a mermaid clan being hunted by their own kind. Only then did he realize, amidst the endless scent of his kin's blood and flesh, for so many years, he had been feeding on his own kind. By sheer accident, he practiced dark arts and his power surged. Alone yet undefeated, he became the legendary monster said to dominate the ocean depths. That time, Howard rushed out to save the trapped and slaughtered the other mermaids instead. He became famous almost through a battle fought in grief. Yet the rescued merfolk tribes could not accept a demon. In fact, when Howard's formidable combat prowess became widely known, many merfolk tribes grew deeply fearful. Time and again, they united to eliminate this demon while he was still in his youth. In his youth, Howard was always covered in wounds, drenched in blood. No one dared to approach or accept him. Nearly all the merfolk were eager to kill him, hoping to enhance their clan's reputation. Once again, he was surrounded and hunted. Howard, with his handsome and cold face, fought his way out of the abandoned dragon palace, which was filled with corpses. Siu, the high god of the celestial realm, found him and gently asked, "No one in the East Sea is willing to accept you. Are you willing to come with me to the celestial realm?" At first, Howard couldn't be bothered with him, For him, the celestial realm was as distant as the parasol tree, surrounded by flowers. On the divine island in the middle of the East Sea, Howard yearned for its pure innocence. Surrounded by flowers and plants, but knew deep down that it was beyond his reach, and he would never be able to ascend to the divine island. Meanwhile, the high god Spencer, having cultivated for many years, was skilled at understanding human hearts. Soon after, with just a single parasol seed, he lured the young Howard to the celestial realm. That seed, that's me, among all beings in the 6 realms. Demons are the most despicable, among all plants in the world. Ordinary trees are the most unremarkable. I am merely a phoenix tree seed from the mortal realm, known as a gnome, far inferior to the immortal phoenix trees on the divine island, nurtured by the spiritual energy of all things. Yet, Lord Spencer placed me in Howard's hand and told him, "This is the most spiritual mortal tree seed I have ever seen, just like you, with extraordinary potential, little mermaid. Let's make a bet, don't give up on yourself, and don't abandon it. As long as the goblin has the day of transforming into an immortal, you will have the day of turning toward goodness and becoming a god." Thus, Howard became a subordinate of the moon god Spencer, and also the first war god in the world to ascend to the divine throne of the heavenly realm with the power of a demon. At that time, Ancient Snake, Bruce, and Phoenix, who held the same 4 great war god positions in the heavenly realm, did not quite accept this newcomer, celestial being. Among them, Phoenix's resistance was the most obvious. When they fought for the celestial realm, they never stood shoulder to shoulder with Howard. On the battlefield, they left him to fight alone, offering no help or coordination. After hundreds of battles, big and small, Howard was always the one most deeply wounded. The people of the celestial realm feared his formidable strength, yet disdained his inherent evil and impurity as a demon. Leading to much discussion about him, I heard no one in the East Sea accepted him. Did he think he'd be liked in the celestial realm, devouring his own kind to become a demon? There are few things in this world as cruel and despicable. Yet, Spencer insisted on recognizing his power, placing him alongside ancient divine birds in the ranks of war gods. Isn't that just disgusting to the other war gods? Oh, you don't know the half of it, do you? Spencer's duty is to protect the upper celestial realm. He's been observing him for a long time, thinking he'd be killed by his own kind, but he always escaped unscathed. Rather than letting him grow wild into a great demon threatening the celestial realm, it's better to recruit him before he reaches adulthood. Just use him, treat him as a human weapon. If you ask me, Howard is also a fool. Spencer bribed him with a goblin. He's clearly inexperienced, rumors swirled. But Howard never paid them any mind. His favorite thing to do was to return alive each time and ascend to 5-level heaven. See if I'm growing and sprouting well today. In the illusion, the long-haired man exudes an icy aura, keeping others at a distance, yet, he softens only for a young phoenix tree, coaxing it gently. "You seem to have grown a few centimeters taller, Freya. I've given you a name. Do you like it? I heard that the divine phoenix tree made a mistake the other day, causing all the phoenix trees in the world to suffer a thunder tribulation. I was so worried about you. On the battlefield, I lost focus for a moment and got stabbed through the ribs. Could you touch me? I'm a goblin, and my cultivation progresses very slowly. Back then, I hadn't even developed the 5 senses yet, so I couldn't give Howard any response. Howard, clad in silver armor that reflected the sunlight, had blood continuously dripping at his feet. He stood silently beside my branches. After a long while, he finally managed a weak smile and bent down to touch me. "I forgot, you're still young, you still need my protection, Freya. In all the heavens and earth, you alone are mine. You must remember, when you grow up, don't go away with anyone else." Later, after many years of walking among mortals, I gradually came to understand the profound and deeply etched emotions of men. In the vast mortal world, Howard was utterly alone. Nothing in this world truly belonged to him, but the deity gave him a seed, and this seed may one day take form, may ascend to immortality, will accompany him, for 1,000 years, and then 10,000 more, in all the heavens and the mortal realm. I alone am the phoenix tree that belongs to him. I really like Howard. From the moment he planted me with his own hands, my soul carried his essence. I longed to see him, to be by his side, so I grew with all my might, cultivating myself desperately. When I finally developed my 5 senses one by one, the first thing I saw was this world. I stumbled upon the gods of war in a civil dispute. Everyone returned, covered in blood. Ancient Snake and Bruce helped the dying Howard to 5-level heaven, even though that magnificent, beautiful silver fishtail had stiffened and hardened, revealing bone. Howard must stay alive to see me. before the elegant phoenix tree. The short-tempered ancient snake couldn't help but roar at the phoenix. "Devon, you were standing right behind Howard at that time, you could have saved him. Why didn't you take the hit for him? After all the battles we've fought side by side, you still loathe him so much you'd rather see him dead." The phoenix is a divine embryo, attaining godhood upon birth, supremely sacred, naturally opposed to and incompatible with demonic creatures. Devon once thought that as long as everyone treated Howard coldly, perhaps this threatening, magically unstable merman would find himself out of luck and return to the East Sea. But no matter how coldly the heavenly beings mocked him, Howard was never fazed. Then the phoenix thought that if Howard could die on the battlefield, it would be a win-win situation. Yet, the demonic creature always escaped death time and again, as if particularly favored by heaven. Thinking of this, Devon coldly lifted his eyelids and parted his lips. Who knows what this merman's purpose is for insisting on staying in the celestial realm? I don't trust demons, and I certainly don't believe that a single seed can bring him to heal. You want me to save him, unless, as Spencer said, the earth spirit phoenix tree transforms into an immortal, and he also has the potential to become a benevolent god. I can do it. I will definitely succeed in my transformation and become an immortal. A clear, soft voice interrupted the phoenix. Everyone looked in surprise at this parasol tree that had taken root unnoticed in 5-level heaven for years. Howard straightened up, his cerulean eyes revealing shock and ecstasy for the first time. Meanwhile, I looked at Devon nervously and anxiously. "My lord, I will work hard to cultivate into an immortal. Please believe me, Howard is badly injured. He can't even lift his tail. Phoenixes can heal flesh and blood. Please save him, I beg you." The wind swept across the horizon. The phoenix's aloof, immortal-like expression stiffened slightly. Boundless heaven has neither water nor soil. How could a mortal tree truly cultivate 5 senses here, without the earthly elements of water and soil? It was nearly impossible for a mortal tree to succeed in cultivation relying solely on spiritual energy. But I did it, that day. Ancient Snake and Bruce finally made Phoenix temporarily put aside his disgust. Under Phoenix's treatment, Howard gained a more muscular body and a tough, massive fish tail. His silver tail wrapped around my branches, and he climbed onto me, searching everywhere for the source of my elixir, wanting to get closer to me. A scorching breath sprayed over me. I smiled and gently touched his handsome, infatuated profile with a branch, candid and bold. "Howard, do you like me? Compared to that divine phoenix tree, you must like me more, right?" Howard's fish tail kept gliding and exploring over my body. His voice was husky yet captivating as he said, "I became a celestial weapon willingly, all for you, Freya. I raised you, and I will only love you." At that time, I still believed the peaceful days in the celestial realm would last long. I even lived to see Howard come of age. As his sexual consciousness awakened, he transformed into a stunningly handsome man. Standing before the phoenix tree, with deep-set eyes and brows, he lowered his head to kiss the leaf I extended, but the good times didn't last. Centuries later, the celestial realm suffered a crushing defeat, the moon god perished, and the foul miasma of demons and monsters tainted all living beings across the 6 realms. Many immortals and deities fled the front lines in panic, crossing through 5-level heaven to return to their homelands and defend against the enemy. 5-level heaven was drenched in blood, a scene of utter devastation and sorrow. The 4 war gods also suffered heavy casualties, staggering into 5-level heaven before their fall. Bruce wanted to muster his last breath to return home, believing it honorable to die in battle. The ancient Snake and Phoenix both had clans waiting for them to come home and see them one last time. Only Howard, he stopped in the boundless heaven. The ancient Snake urged him, "Hurry and leave. Though you can resist the turbid energy, you're outnumbered and won't last. Do you want to return to the East Sea, or go back with one of us? Even if you fall, you should find a place with human presence to rest in peace." Howard gasped for breath, his deep eyes fixed on me. "She hasn't transformed yet. She might die here." "You all go. Dying anywhere is still death. I can't let her die before me." At that time, I was forced into hibernation. Many fleeing immortals, passing through 5-level heaven, saw a harmless phoenix tree and wanted to draw some of my spiritual power to help them have enough energy to return to their hometowns. I faintly heard Howard say he would stay with me, then I sensed 4 cold, damp bodies leaning against the tree trunk beneath me. Only in the illusion did I finally see, they had stayed for Howard, a feast of delicacies transformed from the blood coursing through his body. Before the world descended into chaos and the darkness of fate arrived, the 4 of them sat beneath the lush and beautiful phoenix tree, sharing wine and laughter one last time. Devon sat the farthest from Howard and was the first to confess to him, "Only now do I believe that you and we are truly comrades bound by life and death. Howard, this last drink is to your invincibility in battle." Howard drank, but remained silent. A rare look of sorrow and reluctance filled his brow. He said in a low voice, "That day, you and Spencer told me that Freya would be a woman after she took human form, but she clearly won't live to see the day she transforms. Can ancient artifacts also make mistakes, and can prophecies be wrong? Phoenixes do not have the ability to foresee the future." He could only remain silent for a moment before telling Howard, "I don't know, perhaps it was a mistake." That day, all 4 renowned and highly decorated war gods died under an ordinary phoenix tree. Blood drained, flesh weathered, bones dissolved, all became nourishment for me, but the prophecy of the ancient artifact was not wrong. Centuries later, 5-level heaven and I purified the encroaching miasma together. Finally, our merits were complete, and we ascended to immortality. The moment I landed, I stood bewildered and helpless in an empty world. The weight of loneliness and sorrow, as if delayed for centuries, surged forth. It crushed me. And I cried out loud, "In this world, there is no longer a god of war, and no longer the one I love." Bruce arrived, and the illusion shattered. I woke up lying on Howard's fishtail, lifting my eyes to see his stunned expression. "Howard, Freya, are you both all right?" Bruce helped me up, his tone full of concern. "How could you be injured so badly by a mere mermaid? Where is the phoenix? Where is he?" I lowered my eyes and said, "The phoenix was injured. I took him to the Endless Village, only to encounter a mermaid ambush. I had no choice but to sever the spiritual bond connecting you all." "I'm sorry," Bruce chuckled lightly. "Why apologize? Forcing you to summon us in such a painful way was already asking too much of you. How's your arm? Let me heal it for you." He lifted my right hand, which was bruised and swollen beneath the skin. Divine energy slowly infused, healing the meridians. Ancient Snake finished dealing with the battlefield, then conveniently killed the great demon lingering nearby, and rushed to my side. "Damn monster, the world is truly degenerating, to even covet the flesh and blood of a war god." He scrutinized me, confirming I had no other injuries, before looking at Howard. "Hey, when did you get so weak? If you were only this good back then, you'd have died 800 times over." The ancient snake paused, then added, "Oh, I forgot, you're still a whelp. Freya didn't return all the essence blood in her body to you." But that doesn't make sense. After a merfolk's sexual consciousness awakens, their combat power can multiply several times over. Didn't your sexual consciousness awaken long ago? Why haven't you differentiated yet?" The air fell silent for a moment. I also suddenly remembered that the mermaid said before she died that Howard was a disabled merman whose sexual consciousness could not awaken, but I clearly witnessed Howard's heat. I was used to Howard's male appearance in my previous life, so at that time, I told him that I hoped he could differentiate into a man, and that beautiful mermaid is also female. I suppose Howard would be willing, yet somehow, it angered him. "Howard, what on earth is going on?" The moment I approached, Howard's eyes darkened. He wrapped me in his fishtail and pulled me into his embrace, saying, "I truly never imagined that you would be exactly as described in the 1,000-year-old artifact's prophecy. Freya, if there hadn't been an illusion, were you planning to never tell me that you were once my phoenix tree?" Merfolk, unlike divine birds, cannot inherit ancestral memories. They had the unexpected opportunity for nirvana by being touched by the phoenix's divine blood. In this life, every god of war, except Howard, can return to their original position, but I am not someone who likes to force things. If the reborn Howard could fall in love with me again, would, of course, be happy. If he falls for someone else, just like when he insisted on leaving with the mermaid, I would choose to set him free. Past life bonds shouldn't be the reason I demand his love. Love is freedom. He is free too. I wish him happiness. But now, as I gaze into Howard's eyes brimming with possessiveness, I suddenly realize, it seems he would be happier if I were the one to claim him, before leaving the East Sea. Bruce's expression froze for a moment. He returned to the corpse of the mermaid and caught a wisp of divine energy attempting to flee back to the upper realm. How could Chase's divine energy be in a mermaid? Bruce furrowed his brows, and the ancient snake approached, saying, "This female mermaid and her followers aren't very strong, yet they dared to besiege Howard. It's probably because they have the help of this wisp of divine breath." My expression froze. Chase was the divine being who came to me back then, claiming he could use a magical artifact to regulate the conflicting vital energies in my body and who formed a blood pact with me. But why would he want to harm Howard? he was the one who learned that the god of war had a chance at nirvana. He demanded that I not secretly keep the essence blood for cultivation, but return all of it to help the god of war return to his rightful place sooner. Did the divine venerable have any conflict with you in his previous life? I squeezed Howard's hand. The man thought for a moment, then said dismissively, Chase is a divine master now, he was just a defeated subordinate of mine back then. Bruce also chimed in, Chase is the Phoenix Mother's senior fellow disciple. Back then, Phoenix's mother made a mistake and was imprisoned in the water prison by Spencer. Chase stormed the heavenly realm to rescue her. And since Phoenix and we were already acquainted, Spencer sent Howard to stop him. It was also after that incident that the relationship between Phoenix and Howard became even more delicate. Perhaps the incompatibility between demons and divine beings is destined, even if they had shaken hands and made peace for a moment before their deaths, no matter in the past life or this one, the two of them were destined to be at odds. A thought flashed through my mind, and I quickly understood. Not long ago, the Phoenix was born prematurely, but Howard's care cycle wasn't over yet. He wanted the Phoenix to grow up quickly, so that was when he orchestrated finding the mermaid, making you leave me on your own, right? Howard stared at me intently, his Adam's apple bobbed. He suddenly raised his hand and erected a barrier, blocking everyone else out. Howard frowned. I never thought I could be so foolish after losing my memory. That mermaid found me and said the man you like is either ancient snake or Bruce. Without exception, they are all ancient divine beasts, god of war level, which is why you keep them by your side, and I am merely the compromise you had no choice but to accept after they left. A subtle, complex emotion flickered in Howard's pale blue eyes. I am a demon by nature, yet I failed to differentiate after my sexual consciousness awakened. Not only has my combat ability weakened, but also. And you've told me several times that you wished I could differentiate into a man, but what's the difference between a mermaid who awakens but can't differentiate their gender, and a physically intact man who can't? I stared dumbfounded as Howard showed an expression of embarrassment. He closed his eyes briefly, then blurted out in resignation, I was so scared then, if you found out about my hidden illness, I would be even more inferior to Bruce and Ancient Snake. You could abandon all those noble and boundless divine birds, so wouldn't I be even more? Howard curved his lips into a self-deprecating smile, adding a touch of brokenness to his astonishingly beautiful face. A few strands of hair fell, obscuring the side of his face. I just wanted to return to the mermaid clan back then, to see what was wrong with me. When you came to beg me to stay, your words were so sincere, pleading for me not to leave, but I couldn't tell you the reason. So I clenched my fists and said those cruel words instead. You never used to stay angry with me for so long before. You'd always forgive me as long as I softened up and acted pitiful. I never imagined you'd bring another Phoenix back with you, never touch my tail again, never look only at me. It's as if you're determined to abandon me. The impatient ancient snake outside the barrier had already left. Bruce also waved at me and vanished on the spot. Howard's tone finally began to carry a hint of grievance. He uncomfortably flicked his fishtail and said, the mermaid who came to seduce me couldn't figure out the cause of my illness either. She kept making excuses, demanding that I kill people and submit to her before she would take me to see the mermaid tribe's witch. I was truly on the verge of losing my mind back then. That Phoenix still burrows into your arms in front of me every day. What on earth makes him deserve your affection? I know this look of his all too well, wanting to act spoiled and complain to me, seeking my comfort, yet too proud to admit it, so he pretends not to care. His posture was so awkward, unlike the battle-hardened god of war from 1,000 years ago. Instead, he resembled a little fish, exposing its belly only to its beloved, yearning to be caressed. So now, do you know why? My heart softened, reaching out to touch a dormant scale on Howard. Can this be healed? I'm right here in front of you. Would you differentiate into a man for me? Howard's shimmering fishtail trembled in the underwater light, but he didn't hide, letting me boldly probe. No, I just vaguely remember something about a phoenix. Howard gasped, his eyes clouded with desire. All right, stop touching me. He fiercely grabbed my wrist, his voice trembling. 1,000 years ago, I merely caught a glimpse of you within the divine artifact, and my sexual consciousness awakened, leading to a successful differentiation. They're right, monsters will always be monsters. I can't control myself at all. Howard lowered his head, breathing heavily as if terrified of hurting me. Without thinking, I blurted out, what are you afraid of? You can't differentiate now, just like the eunuchs in ancient times. The words were abruptly cut off, an overwhelming aura of aggression swept over them. Howard's entire body burned with heat, his pale blue eyes dark and unfathomable, his hands clasped my waist, and his fishtail, even more robust and strong, wrapped around me. His voice was low and hoarse. Do you have to describe me that way? Don't dislike me, I can prove it to you. Merfolk's tails and tongues are also very sensitive. Give me your hand, I've never spent this long underwater. Phoenix trees are not cold-hardy, but merfolk are scorching hot. Fishtail, mouth, webbed hands. The merman slowly heated my soul. At the moment my body curled up in fear from his sticky fingertips, unable to lift my arms. I clutched the merman's messy, seaweed-like hair and arched my pale, fragile neck. A few tears escaped as I said, Howard, actually, it's okay if you don't differentiate into a man. The divine venerable did not deny his selfish motives. Within the sea of consciousness, that voice was cold and merciless. My junior sister is already showing signs of the 5 decays. She has waited 1,000 years just to see the phoenix one more time, to hear him call her mother once, Freya. You have your own selfish motives too, wanting to protect that demon. What right do you have to criticize me for loving my child? I frowned and retorted, then you could have told me the truth and tried to persuade me. Why go through such a roundabout way and hurt Howard? Don't tell me you never once thought of killing him from the very beginning. Chase scoffed. Yes, I do. So what? Times have changed, and so have circumstances. He is no longer the god of war, but I have become the divine venerable. He's just a demon. What grand reason do I need to kill him? Look at his pathetic, deeply infatuated state. A small provocation will be enough to make him leave on his own. 1,000 years ago, if you had taken human form earlier, his weakness was so obvious. I could have killed him before the water prison. I was silent for a moment, then said, have you forgotten? The price of breaking the blood pact is your complete annihilation, and I inherit your divine position. I made it clear then that the blood pact would only be complete when Howard's strength was fully restored. Even if you died, he harmed Phoenix. He deserved to die. Chase coldly continued, and me, Freya. Death isn't scary at all, if it weren't for you. Would Howard care about being a god of war? A mere divine position is simply incomparable to my junior sister. I was instantly speechless, my emotions fluctuating. Then I heard Chase compromise, saying, Phoenix still needs you now, so I naturally won't harm the merfolk again to distract you, and I had already planned to pass on my divine position to you after the blood pact was completed. Freya, there's no need for us to fall out. Please be kinder to Phoenix. My junior sister won't last much longer. He is the person she cares about most in this world. A few months later, I picked up Phoenix from Sunset Township. Devon's injuries have mostly healed. He's regained his former lively demeanor. Phoenix was quite clingy during childhood. Sometimes I wonder too, perhaps Chase's junior sister was once pampered and spoiled, raising him. Howard also no longer showed hostility towards Phoenix. He uncharacteristically took on the task of helping Phoenix bring back parasol tree branches and leaves, and sweet spring water. It was just on a few nights with lightning and thunder, when Devon tugged at my sleeve, saying with longing and unease that he wanted to sleep with me. Howard still couldn't help but revert to his original form, coldly threatening him to go to sleep. Devon couldn't defeat him, but he was never afraid of him, and soon, the Phoenix found a way to deal with him. To target Howard, Devon began to transform into a cute girl, accompanying me shopping, snuggling in my arms, occupying all my time. When Howard protested with cold eyes, Devon would curve his lips into a smirk, provocatively embracing me. A sweet, soft, feminine voice rang out from within my embrace. But I was born intersex. Why are you even jealous of girls? If you really can't stand me clinging to my sister, you could always differentiate into a woman. Oh, I forgot, you can't differentiate. What should I do? I don't know if phoenixes are truly hermaphroditic, but he struck a nerve with Howard, making Howard fiercely pinch my waist, tormenting me. When you're feeling extremely wronged and shedding pearls like crazy, I only have one thought: cry more. Love to see it. Next year, I'll be the richest woman in the world. Extra story. If I can't love you, then I have nothing. It was 500 years later when Phoenix gained her inherited memories. Howard asked him with a cold expression. What was the solution to that ancient seal's curse back then? The Phoenix, having regained its memories, exuded an indifferent aura. It seemed to process everything that had happened over the past 500 years. He looked at me with those inorganic, glass-like eyes. I'm sorry for troubling you all these years. I quickly shook my head. No, 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 my lord, this is all my duty. Devon paused, then said, you don't need to use honorifics with me, you can continue to call me by my name. Back then, it wasn't just Howard. Even we and Spencer were waiting for you to take human form. Unfortunately, Spencer can't see you as you are now." I couldn't respond to such heavy words. Silence fell. Howard was very rude to Phoenix, stepping forward and grabbing his collar, angrily saying, "Dead bird, can't you see me? I wanted to hit you in my last life, and you made me wait so long in this one. What was the counter-curse you set back then? Is it fun to watch me unable to differentiate?" The Phoenix remained unmoving in the face of hostility. He merely glanced at him lazily. "How could I have known then that you would have an afterlife? Having been a monk for several hundred years, you can only blame yourself." Howard was furious. Devon tilted his head to look at me and smiled. "Freya, do you want to see? If you do, I'll tell you the spell." I was extremely curious and quickly nodded. "No, don't tell her, Devon." Howard's expression stiffened, and he reacted strongly. Trying to stop it, however, the next second, Phoenix conjured a phoenix seal and sent it directly to my glabella. 1,000 years ago, Spencer returned from a bloody battle in the East Sea. He learned of a rumor about the Merfolk tribe, which was still a secret at the time. He found Phoenix and asked if there were any deities in the celestial realm willing to be romantically involved with Howard, and told Devon, although Merfolk are brutal, they are also exceptionally loyal. If they encounter someone who captures their heart, their sexual consciousness awakens, and they transform into a female or male form for that person. After differentiation, combat power can multiply several times over. I was thinking, since Howard has come of age, why not find someone who makes his heart flutter? The Phoenix frowned, clearly showing aversion and annoyance at such matters. No one in the upper realm likes him. You might as well go catch a mermaid from the East Sea and try to pair them up, but in reality, if someone in the East Sea had liked him, Howard wouldn't have had to defect from the Merfolk and follow Spencer to the heavenly realm. The two high gods, seasoned by years of battle, exchanged a glance. Simultaneously, they found themselves troubled by Howard's lifelong predicament, until Phoenix saw Howard stumble onto 5-level heaven after leaving the battlefield multiple times. He would sit under the Phoenix tree, chatting with it. He tentatively borrowed an ancient artifact with Spencer. That day, the wind was gentle, and the artifact shone upon the Phoenix tree. Soon, a human figure began to take shape. Silky long hair cascaded over her as she lay in peaceful slumber. Her eyes slanted slightly upward, with long, delicate lashes. Her skin was fair, and her beauty striking. The divine artifact trembled slightly, and the woman opened her eyes, her gaze like water. As if from 1,000 years in the future, she possessed a pair of emerald-green pupils, as serene and vibrant as the leaves of a summer sycamore tree. Her gaze gently fell upon Howard, and she smiled at him. "Am I what you like? When will you take me away?" Howard stopped staring blankly at the artifact. "Can you pay attention to me?" The language reflected by the artifact was actually the current thoughts of Phoenix Tree, but that stunning appearance, combined with Phoenix Tree, who already made Howard's possessiveness run wild, caused the merman's self-awareness to awaken fiercely and suddenly. Only by constantly fighting on the battlefield can he stabilize his demonic nature. Neither Phoenix nor Spencer expected Howard to react so strongly to a phantom, and Phoenix, having lived in the divine parasol tree for many years, knew the parasol tree quite well. He had to sternly warn Howard, "Do you know that goblins and immortal trees are different? Their maturation cycle is incredibly long. An immortal tree, once it can take human form, reaches maturity in just 100 years, but a goblin's transformation begins in childhood, taking 500, 800, or even 1,000 years to reach adulthood. You are already so out of control now. If, after Freya takes human form, you use your closeness with her to coax her into intimacy, or if you lose control and force yourself upon her, then you would truly be an unforgivable demon." Merfolk are driven by desire, and their demonic nature amplifies that desire exponentially. Howard wasn't aware of these things. He had only met Freya once before differentiating. Now it felt like a dull punch to his chest. His entire body stiffened as he struggled to speak. I didn't know she would. It's just uncontrollable. It's just that the demonic nature is too strong, and the heart stirrings come swiftly. It's just the possessiveness and desire for Phoenix Tree. There was no time to suppress reason, so it was exposed in instinct. It was like a dirty, unspeakable secret suddenly being exposed to the sunlight. Howard lowered his head, for the first time not daring to look Phoenix in the eye. "Then what should I do? Can't I go see her? I won't hurt her. I believe you don't want to hurt her, but I can't gamble with your uncontrollable demonic nature." Devon, for once, showed him a bit of trust. For all these years, I've been on guard, afraid that you might suddenly lose control and turn against the people of the heavenly realm. Now, it's not just the battlefield, but even that phoenix tree. I can engrave a magic seal on you. Once your demonic nature spirals out of control and you start a massacre, it will backfire on you, shattering your body and sealing off your lust. In the past, you definitely wouldn't have agreed if I said this, but now, Howard, if you still want to visit her often before Phoenix Tree fully transforms into an adult. The phoenix didn't finish speaking, but Howard already understood. He willingly donned those shackles like a cage, suppressing his natural instincts, and handed the key to Freya 1,000 years ago. As the seal was engraved, the curse-breaking rune shimmered within the phoenix emblem. Once cast, this seal could only be undone when Freya came of age. Incantation decryption. I voluntarily release Howard from his confinement and accept all consequences. The seal of the past life only prevented Howard from misbehaving. In this life, however, it directly prevents Howard from differentiating. This caused the merman, who was unaware of the truth, to suffer several setbacks and almost sever his connection with me. After the phoenix left, moonlight flooded the room. When I was helping Howard break the curse, I softly said, "I love you." The man froze. A glimmering sheen of tears welled up in his azure eyes. Plink, plink, several radiant pearls dropped into my palm. My wrist was forcibly yanked up. The pearl instantly flew out from my palm. Howard, breathing heavily, pinned me against the windowsill, muffling my cries. "What's the rush? Weren't you so good at it? Make me cry. I can give you more at night." Howard suffered exceptionally during his differentiation. He frowned and curled up, his fishtail trembling uncontrollably. In a cold sweat, as if his memories were confused, he grabbed my hand and murmured unwillingly, "Freya, Freya, don't leave me. There are always so many people coming and going around you. What difference does one more of me make?" I caressed his damp, uneasy face. I couldn't quite understand why he was so insecure. 1,000 years ago, I took root in the boundless sky. Only when Howard came was there any human warmth around me. 1,000 years later, I care for ancient divine birds. They came and went, never staying for me. Only this demon, feared and dreaded by others, a powerful and solitary merman. He mistakenly believed my world was vast, surrounded by prosperity. Little did I know, my loneliness was identical to his. We only had each other, like two lonely souls on the edge of the world. If I can't love you, then I have nothing. That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.